What up, though? Have you ever found that it's really, really hard to commit to God when everything is not going anywhere or anywhere how He says it should be going? Or maybe that's not the right terminology, but let's try again. You find it hard to commit to God, and everything that He's saying to you or in the Word is not lining up with your current situation. If that's you, let's dive in and let's help you. Let's get you some answers. Welcome to the Faith Fit podcast. I'm your host, Drew Koss, and today we're talking about committing when it seems impossible to commit. Now, if you've been a believer or you are considering being a believer, you know how hard it is to commit to something when it seems completely impossible, irrational, and not worth it sometimes. Let's be honest, since we're helping each other out. One of the common things that stops commitment is going into something thinking that there's not never a fight. Ephesians in the 6th chapter talks about us wrestling not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against spiritual wickedness in high places, against rulers of the darkness of this world. So that means there's levels sometimes of what you're wrestling. It does not mean that things will always just look perfect or the commitment will feel easy. If we can understand that now in the beginning or even in the middle, then we can understand that this commitment is going to require me to be a different type of person. This commitment is going to require me to dig. It's going to help me be a person of deeper faith. And it's also going to help just transform me completely. So when we look at commitment, we want to be looking at it as it's not going to be easy, but it doesn't mean I shouldn't go into it. Because when I come out of it, I'm a different person. The first thing is we want to realize that commitment is not always easy. When we think about committing to a fitness journey seems exciting for the first 7 to 14 days. And then when you don't see the scale move, or you just realize that, hey, I might be sore a couple times going into this thing, something may be hurting at times, the commitment level can drop because we're in a era where if it's not easy, it's not God. Or if it's not easy, I shouldn't do it. That's not true. Growth does not feel good. Transformation does not feel good. Transformation is super beneficial when it's completed, but it doesn't mean it feels good. And I'm saying that so that you can go into these areas and seasons of faith and seasons of asking God for new things or asking God to help you transform, that you can go into it knowledgeable. The Bible talks about people perishing for a lack of knowledge. First, we have to realize that it doesn't mean it's going to be easy if I'm going to commit. Number two, the commitment usually means God's wanting me to step up my game, or as I would say, He's wanting you to transform to the next version of you. This is also something that can get overlooked because when you're changing something, you're transforming something. At times there is some pains. For the last 2 years, I'll be honest with you guys, God has brought my wife and I where we have one car at this moment that I'm doing this podcast. We had two cars, and I knew for a fact like He wanted us to get closer to each other, closer to Him, and just having that amount of hustle and bustle, it was hindering us. I'm not saying having two cars is bad. I'm talking about for me and my wife, what it was doing. So we committing to like we're gonna get closer to God, closer to each other. We gave up this car so that we were forced to communicate more, forced to slow down more. And I cannot tell you how at times it was annoying. It was aggravating. It was irritating because we had to keep shifting schedules. We had to come to a place. What we do now all the time is sit down and go over the whole week. go over the entire schedule. How do we do these things with these things that we have to do? Who drops the baby off? Who picks her up? How much energy do we need for this? And I cannot tell you how that has transformed our relationship. But it didn't feel good, but God was wanting us to transform so that He can do more with us and even give us more. Transformation doesn't always look like what we see in movies, where like the Transformers or like the superhero when the Hulk gets ready to go off, he just rips off his shirt, or Superman, he just goes into this phone booth, and then that's not transformation for life. That's a movie or a superhero, a film. So if God's wanting you to transform, I want you to start thinking about asking God this: God, what's the area that I'm holding on to that you want me to let go of? Where am I resistant that you are asking me to loosen my grip? Or what am I afraid to commit to? Am I afraid to commit to this learning? Am I afraid to commit to this journey? Because I know it's going to transform me, but I don't know what that entails. I don't know what that looks like. And we all go there. We all will be there multiple times in life if you've ever changed. With growing, like as a person, like with your body and things like that, sometimes you just grow by age. That's different because you're not required to transform. It's just going to happen. Think about when babies start teething. I feel so bad that they have to teeth, but they have no choice. They just literally have to go through that process. So the first one would be understanding that commitment is not supposed to be easy. Number two, God may be requiring you to level up. And then the last one, it talks about in James, patience. Let patience have its perfect work. Why is this important? Because if you fly off at the handle every time there's a situation, you go nuts. God's going to help you keep working on patience so that you have some stability in your emotions. You're not always like, as the old folks used to say, wishy-washy, and you're not double-minded. When I say all of this, I'm saying this as a person who will go through new things and has gone through these things. And I know for a fact when I used to get into money situations or things like that, my patience level would just go berserk. I wouldn't yell, I wouldn't scream, but I would be panicking inwardly. And the Bible talks about being anxious in Philippians 4:6, being anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving to let our requests be made known unto God. And I was like, I'm going to make the request known and I'm still be anxious. And I had to come to grips to realize that He was trying to perfect something in me that required patience. As I said, I'm not telling you that this stuff is easy. I'm not telling you that you just master it. I'm telling you it more so that you're not discouraged when things are happening. When you're seeing like some patterns of disruption and you're not giving up. I want to encourage you so that you understand you're probably on the right track. Right? Just because you don't feel that all the answers are just coming, or you feel like the bills may be behind and things like that, you still might be on track. So this verse in James 1, verse 4, it's in the Amplified Version. In the King James Version, it talks about let patience have its perfect work. But it says here, and let endurance have its perfect result, and do a thorough work, so that you may be perfect and completely developed in your faith, lacking nothing. Let's read that again. And let endurance have its perfect result, and do a thorough work, so that you may be perfect and completely developed in your faith, lacking in nothing. Lacking in nothing. And that's the goal. So I want to encourage you today. First, subscribe so that we can keep doing more podcast episodes for you guys. But I want to encourage you today. God has your back. God has your best interest in mind. And the devil does not. And the devil will always try to distract you from knowing that God has your best interest in mind. Even when you don't think He does. He surely does. Go be great, guys. Go be great.